Hello and welcome to UAT's Tech Tangents. I'm Robert Walker,
And I'm Dave Bolman.
and today we're going to talk about a topic that you probably know about and your computer knows about too. AI and the proliferation of AI. And, Dr. Bowman, we've talked about this. AI has really disseminated into almost every industry, every system, everywhere. Did we see this coming?
No, not even a little bit. I mean, I remember the fall when OpenAI launched ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And like everybody in the tech space are going, it does what?
Right.
It does code, it does art, it answers questions. Like, yeah. No one saw that thing coming. And it's not like AI wasn't around. We had AI doing things like, voice to text for a while. You've got AI, driving what's going on in your maps program. It was there, but it wasn't this generative, we're going to make stuff for you kind of an AI. And what like the last 2 years, what's been so crazy is it went from being this, no one was thinking about it, to how fast can we have tools that let me do AI in my own, whatever it is I'm doing, whether I'm cooking or building models or I'm writing code or writing a book or, and that's been the thing that's been really exciting is how fast that flipped over. And really, I think we're to a spot right now where the biggest topic in AI for most people in 25 is get your fluency up.
Yeah.
It's like if you've been hearing about it and wondering, you got to move on to using it, and understand what it does and doesn't do.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. And, we talk about this like AI fluency, and who would have thought that would even be a term these days? It's almost like AI as a second language, really. Like it could be a whole different piece on, how you use the prompts to get what you want, how you utilize these things. And so there's like different segments. There's one side, I think, of the populace that's saying, AI, I want to use it. I think it's going to enhance what I do. I'm ready for it. I want to embrace it. And the other side is AI scares me. I want to stay away from it because I don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah. No, well, and the folks who are there, they're not entirely wrong. But most of what I think it is, they haven't used it yet. It's just one of those, it's a big black hole that they're just like peering in from the side. They can feel themselves being sucked into it.
Yeah.
Once you use it, then you kind of see, what it does and doesn't do and where it's helpful. And I've got a sister who just does stuff on Etsy kind of things.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, it terrifies me. But now she's like using it to just kind of help with some of the background artworks and things like that. And she's like, oh, and she calls me all excited. Like, look, I went into here and I typed in this word and it did this thing. It made this thing for me so I can focus on what I'm actually creating. And I think that's what most folks are going to experience in the next couple of years is just getting a feel for here's how I can use it to do things that are helpful.
Yeah.
And then I think, but once that happens, you're going to find out what it doesn't do well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's positive. Like you see a lot of things where it's like, oh, like you mentioned, you're scared of it, but like the way it can supplement some of the things, like some of the day-to-day tasks, just like, okay, it's a good sounding board. It's a jumping, tool to get to that next phase of, I want to create this. I want to create that. Like whether it's a start to an email or a start to a recipe, it's a good starting point.
Well, yeah, it's funny you should say that because earlier this year, was coming up on my dog's birthday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to write a song for my dog. And I've never written, I haven't written a whole bunch of songs. And so I had no idea how to start. And so I went into an app that was specifically dialed in for music creation and AI. And I said, hey, look, I'm looking for a song to my dog. I want to have these elements. I want it in this style. I want this many verses, this many bridges. And it spit something out.
Yeah.
In the end, I probably used less than 20% of it, but it gave me something that was the bones.
Yeah.
That I'm like, okay, well, I don't like this rhyme here, and I wouldn't say this. And then after, attaching to music and playing, practicing it for a while, over the course of a couple of 3 months, it dialed in. And it really is. It's not its song. It's my song. But I wouldn't have got there if it hadn't started for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the experience a lot of people are going to have. Or just like, here, get me on the path and I'll finish it out.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a good trampoline to ideas. Yeah, it just launches you up and then you can decide. And with that, with this metaphor of trampoline,
Yeah.
a lot of people are using AI in a lot of different ways, so to speak. AI can really be used, in a multitude of things, but knowing the prompts is key, and knowing how to ask AI something to get what you want
Right.
is a skill. And now people are using and wielding that skill, and saying, AI, do this for me, talk to it like an intern, make this,
Right.
no emojis, no lines, and then give it to me in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then I think what we're going to start seeing is a little bit of the AI tools are going to get embedded in places we go anyway. And you're kind of seeing that already in the browsers and places like that.
Yeah.
But then also, I think you're going to find AIs, like actual apps for if you're somebody who does this kind of thing, like if you're doing graphic design, here's an AI that's specifically tuned to it. And you go there to do that stuff, kind of like the Adobe tools that are active for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are going to start seeing is that, okay, you kind of gravitate towards some all-purpose things that just fit in, and some of it is great, some of it's not great. Like I'm still not in love with the AI summarizations of my emails and my messages. I'm like, no, that's not what they say.
I didn't say that.
But I gotta admit, I was doing some searches yesterday on a topic, and Gemini came back. It's way it pulled together was actually pretty good. It was like, okay, it wasn't, like it was its own version of kind of like a Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It was actually like, I didn't, like I had to go back and check some sources and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, that was kind of useful, And so I think that's where people are going to get their familiarity up with it, really fast. And again, it's not, I've yet to bump into an AI yet that it was as good as a proficient human doing that stuff. But what it does do is the stuff you care about less. Yeah, it does just fine. I was watching Hot Ones, and there's an episode with John Mulaney.
Yeah,
and he's asked the question, "What do you think about AI and jokes?" And he said, "Actually, AI produces pretty good jokes, but it doesn't make great ones, and it doesn't have the experience of like what it's like to have a comedian read the room and respond. It's just a joke that's a pretty good joke."
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where AI sits for a lot of things, where just if you think about it that way, there's a lot of spaces where good enough is good enough.
Right.
And so, I think that's what people are going to discover next year or so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that once they embrace it, they're going to see that what used to take them 30 minutes time to do, now it's just going to take them mere minutes because they can utilize AI. Like AI's, and specifically some of the Gen AI, is just benchmark for data, comparisons, contrast, summarize, analyze, and tell me what this is.
Right.
Like the data set, ability of it is just amazing. And I think if people use it in like all the mundane things that you do in your daily life, and you say, how can I augment it? Because we're going towards a market that is, a job market. A lot of, students out there are going towards a place where employers are going to start asking them, how are you using AI to speed your life up, and how can it benefit our company?
Right. And I think that's just it. I think that's people going to jobs, they ask pretty quickly, what tools do you use? How come it's going to be, like how now it's assumed that it's, like everybody can use a spreadsheet and a word processor and a browser. Yeah, of course. But I think AI is going to be the next sentence of that. Can you build a deck? Can you use AI? Boom. Okay, so tell me, what's the thing you used AI for that has been the most like it delighted you?
Honestly, AI is a great springboard to bounce ideas off for events.
Okay.
Like I'm like, okay, AI.
I would have thought of that. That's cool.
Yeah, AI, I'm thinking about this event, and for example, we had our spring art walk.
Yeah.
AI, I'm thinking about a spring art walk where we show off art and we do it. I want to make sure that it relates back to how UAT thing killer. I'm like, I use that proxy example, but it spit back out. Well, why don't you use the art walk as an extension to show people the many benefits of the campus? And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. And it was that one little line where I was like, okay, now I have that piece. Now I can take that, take it offline and flesh out how I can uniquely construct that.
Yeah.
So that's a word for personal. AI is so good at poetry.
Oh, wow.
AI is insane at poetry. Like if you give it specific, like I want this in iambic pentameter.
Okay.
I want this way. It'll spit out some stuff. And I'm like, give me this poem, give me this vibe, and make it interesting and weird and tell a story.
Yeah.
And some of the things it spits out are like things that my mind would never even think of. It's really, really cool.
Oh, that's extremely great. I like that a lot.
What about you?
Well, the most recent thing I did was, keeping the dog theme in AI. It was on 4th of July. The family is there, like you're waking up and and the text messages start to come. Hey, who's doing what in the barbecue and things like that. And so I used the AI playground in iOS, and I said, okay, here's a picture of my dog. Mix my dog up. Dog bandana 4th of July, and boom, I suddenly had this really nice illustration, dog with a flag bandana, fireworks in the back, and I'm like, there we go, and sent it out to everybody. Took 10 seconds. And I'm like, there you go, this is a perfect application of AI. An animated version of the dog. I also like at Christmas time I always do kind of that letter to the students, and last Christmas I'm like, okay, I'm writing this up, I need a graphic. And so I remember putting in I want a teched up jetpack Santa Claus. I dropped it into Firefly, and I got these like great kind of tweaked them a little bit, but got like a really great, like, okay, I would never have been able to come up with that image, obviously. And it was perfect for what I was trying to do. Great background graphics.
Love that.
But see, and there's an example, like from a job perspective, would you say, well, does that mean it's coming at the cost of a graphic designer's job?
The point.
And I'm like, well, in this situation, no, because this is the kind of thing I wouldn't have paid a designer for. It was time sensitive, and I wouldn't want to spend the resources for something that's just a sidebar graphic in the piece that I'm working on. It was like, no, it was a secondary thing. If I wanted an actual, like, more dialed in graphic, I would have gone to a designer who probably would have taken their ideas and maybe bulked it up a bit with AI. But it would have been saved for something that's like, no, here's something we're going to spend money on, as opposed to just something kind of knock around with.
Yeah, because I mean, you said like I would have went without the image versus like me, and that's an interesting point because the big thing about AI is people say it's going to take my job, it's going to replace my job, and the robots are going to do this and that, and I think that that's a great point in an illustration of I would have gone without versus eliminate the human element and the eye for it, and you still would have used it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think there's certainly going to be some job disruptions.
Yeah.
But I do think that mostly what you're going to see with AI is that everybody's work elevates up a bit.
Yeah.
Because things that you would normally not have had writing support for or graphics for, it's just going to be better.
Yeah.
And I'm even I think about tools like Grammarly.
Yeah.
Which is an AI-based tool. And I'm a far better writer with that doing the final scrub. Like I don't let it build my first version.
Yeah.
But it tidies up my final version, and I sound much less like an idiot. And I think that's what you're mostly going to see.
Yeah.
I do think that there are going to be some jobs that, are going to go away. And it reminds me of back in the 80s. And it's the formation of UAT came out of this, where when CAD came along, it was like, well, are we going to need drafters anymore? And the answer was no. Drafters as semi-artists, that went away. I mean, there were still architectural renderers and things like that, but drafting, like sitting up and pick up a pen and doing drawings, it was replaced with AutoCAD. And I can remember, this would have been like 87-ish, give or take, where the school started was there was a big push for workforce redevelopment where people who used to draft with pencil and paper and erasers and protractors had to learn how to use the CAD software. If you didn't want to use the CAD software, you're going to have to leave the industry. And I think there's a similar thing is going to happen here where it's like you're just going to have to augment your skills with it. And if you're not willing to, there's going to be jobs that aren't going to work. I mean, if what you're doing is something that could be replaced by just good enough AI,
Yeah.
you probably need upper game. Yeah, I mean, it's like, and actually, and I don't think AI, just knowing how AI is constructed, um, the current pathway of it is always going to be a bit of a good enough, but not as good as if someone who is really a craftsman at it really, built it out. Just because all it's doing is averaging statistics and what it learned before and making decisions based on probabilities. And, it doesn't know how to make judgments exactly,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I think it's if you don't hop onto it, or if your job is something like my job is to write mundane, thank you emails to customers. Well, you probably need a new job.
Exactly.
Or learn AI and elevate it and increase the throughput or something. Because that's what I think, like, for example, take something as simple as that. Like, you're doing the reply to customers. If you're just churning those things out and copy and paste and stock response, that's going to feel a bit impersonal, and it's going to feel like this is just junk emails being pushed. But if you're somebody with capacity with AI, it allows you to keep a high level of throughput, and you insert the added bit of the actual personal relationship touch,
Yes.
while maintaining the throughput. I think you're going to see that kind of stuff a lot.
Yeah.
And it would be, no guarantee, but it would be a cool result if things that right now feel very cut and paste actually become more specific and relationship driven, because the AI is so thoroughly taking over the maths part that humans can then just drop in and put in, this is the bit about you. Yeah, it's actually about you, not fake you,
Exactly. And I think you strike a good point, because, the human element, that's something that cannot be replaced. Like our personality, who we are.
Yeah.
Like to your point of like AI can make jokes, good jokes, not great jokes. It's still that human piece of adding in those personal touches of, the nuances
Right.
of the human experience. And so a lot of people are like, and a lot of companies right now are slashing jobs, and they're saying, I'm going to augment this portion to AI. And I think the resolve to that is AI is forcing us to upskill in a way that we look at how we're contributing to the world.
Yeah.
And we say, okay, I'm going to contribute who I am. I don't think it's an element anymore. We can say, I'm going to go in and do my job. And you have to go in and talk and be personable. And I think the human element is even the more so. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. So much so that there's been this conversation for a while. It's like people are kind of norming on what to do with AI, and there was this thing like, well, we're worried about deepfakes, and one response to that was, well, anything that could look like deepfake has to be watermarked as deepfake. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how viable that is, because I think that what will naturally happen is that people, will add that human element to what's created.
Yep.
And then it'll be one of those, yeah, no, there's AI involved, but there's still that, that piece where the actual person or an actual creator, content creator, inserted their piece to it, which makes it real and responsive and real time, and it just has that extra texture to it.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there's going to be problems, and but I think on average, it's probably going to be, we're going to know, we're going to just kind of, we'll know pure AI from AI that humans have added their piece to it.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me think of a kitchen. Like you were talking before about recipes coming out of AI.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I mean, recipes are all day long. It's a great thing. But you know what? You actually get going in the kitchen and you're actually messing with the ingredients. You're going to put your flair into it, no matter what.
Right.
And you're going to taste the food, and you're going to smell the food and make the adjustments. And AI may have helped you on the start, but the end piece is going to be your deal. You can't get past the whole, you're in the kitchen getting a spoon of whatever sausage you're making and handing to people going, what do you think it tastes of this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That natural touch of, okay, add a little bit more salt, a little bit of pepper. AI isn't going to tell you like, add more salt and pepper to your tastings. A lot of times, like, it's that organic feel.
Right.
And I feel like there's similarities with AI and a lot of the newer technologies that have come along that have faced the, what are you going to do? Social media, for example.
Right.
Like, social media has changed the landscape of any and everything that we do, from our attention span to how we shoot videos. Maybe it's vertical, maybe it's horizontal.
Right.
You want to make sure it's vertical for social media's purposes. And it's just really changed the landscape. A counterpoint, social media can be harmful in ways. A good point is that social media has connected populations and generations that may have not otherwise be connected. Like,
Right.
I talk to my grandmother sometimes on Facebook, and I'm like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And we'll go online and we'll play spades, and
Yeah.
it's kind of our thing where we stay connected. And
Yeah.
it's like that connectivity. I think is like there's maybe unsavory, practices and qualities, but the fact that I get to speak to my grandma who's in Michigan, and we get to play spades on a random Sunday is worth it.
Yeah. Or even, you told the generation thing. It's like, okay, so, if I see something on TikTok, yeah, there's a decent chance that it's something I can talk to my daughter about. It's like, yeah, it's like everybody kind of plays here. And, you think about like how last week with the announcement that the Late Show at Colbert is being canceled.
Yeah.
And the initial reaction was kind of like, well, we're losing one of those touch points of everybody used to watch late night TV. It was a common thread point the next day you'd talk about. It hasn't not like people have stopped wanting that. They just do it now in social media spaces.
Yeah.
It's what's happening on Insta or TikTok. That becomes a conversation point that does kind of spread over age and locations and stuff like that. And like, I think it's hilarious, like every now and then when, like my grandma, does like, did you see this thing online? I'm like, what are you doing over there?
How do you see this?
So, yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I think it's just it's a new format for it. I think the AI side of it though is, it's potentially, or at least kind of in the moment, one of the more harmful things of AI is that in short form, Insta, TikTok kind of pieces, they were already kind of cut in a way that's a bit like, they weren't as real and textured. So I think it's a lot easier to insert an AI version of something there, and it looks like everything else.
Yeah.
And I think, personally, I think we'll get to an equilibrium with it. People will realize, like maybe they'll realize, don't get your news from TikTok. And or they'll just go, no, that's obviously AI, whatever. Don't that's just take it. Look for the funny ones.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious how that's going to play out. I think it's easier for AI to fake its way in there than it is other spaces.
Yeah, I agree.
Tech Tangents is sponsored by the University of Advancing Technology, Arizona's top tech-focused private university. With degrees like robotics, cybersecurity, and IT, UAT has it going on. Learn more at uat.edu.